the silver lining, Wiggy, to all of that is that now you sit very nicely in the position of if you lose to Buffalo next weekend, you get the number 1 overall pick. So my starting point with this is, what should their plan against Buffalo be to ensure the loss? Is that how you're feeling? Or is there anything to play for a win?
And there is nothing to play for a win. As a Pats fan, you probably know this better than anything. Years past, granted, organization has changed. But if you have the opportunity to have the number 1 overall pick, why would you want to, piss that away? Why would you want to? And I get it. The players are going to go out there and play and everything. But as an organization, I don't think really, it's not like you don't have to really try to do much.
Do you think there's any tension between the coaching staff where basically everybody's sitting there seats hot, whether you're a coordinator, whether you're a position coach, whether you're the head coach? I would think after the calamity, to quote NFL media, that you saw on Saturday, is there any tension between ownership saying, can you put something good against a divisional opponent? Or do you think ownership is like, just wave the white flag here too because we want the pick?
I think ownership's probably doing what, what I wouldn't say most fans, but I think ownership's probably saying, all right, go out there, play hard, try to get the win. But if you don't, you know what? At least we got the number 1 overall pick. I think that's probably what ownership is doing, because it's hard to wave the white flag when you're this bad of a team, right? So
what if they go out and they say, let's have Joe Milton play? Let's start
All right,
Joe
so
Milton
then you have to go. Yeah, you have to go like the extreme.
That would no offense to Joe Milton, but he's been the emergency quarterback all year. So that would be ensuring you're getting that pick.
And that would be the extreme, right?
You look over at Buffalo, they're sitting Josh Allen
playing Trubisky,
and they're playing Trubisky and all backups. Then you turn and you go, our team is already basically backups outside of the quarterback and 1 cornerback. So we're going to play Joe Milton.
Right. Then that would be you basically publicly saying to us as fans, all right, we're doing everything in our power to try to lose the game without actually going out there and knowing, like, you're actually taking a dive. You're basically saying we're going to put guys in position that it's going to be extremely difficult for us to win the football game. I don't think they're going to go that extreme because you're already a bad team. And do you even think, even if Buffalo starts, which they really have nothing to play for now that I kind of looked at their record,
they got the 2 seed.
They got the 2 seed locked up because they got 3 losses, and Baltimore is at the 3 seed and they have 5. So even if they lost another game, they'd still be in the 2 seed. So where Buffalo would be like, all right, Trubisky's their backup, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll play Trubisky. We'll probably play some of the other guys. It's like you're not going to sit all of your ones. You're still going to play some of these guys. And do you have the confidence that you can even beat that team? I don't necessarily have that type of confidence.
No. You couldn't beat Miami with Snoop Huntley.
Right.
So why would you think that you could beat Mitchell Trubisky with what you got now at this point in the season, where it seems like, we'll ask Gerard Mayo about this, Daniel Quale told Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald after the game that he saw guys quit.
Right.
So, that's the state of your team going into
So I don't think you have to do, I don't think there's this, crazy thing that you have to do to ensure that you give yourself the best chance of losing. I think what you'll probably see is here's how you see it without really them going out there and doing the Joe Milton thing. Gonzalez doesn't play. Because
he's probably not going to anyway,
right. So he would be a definite, you know what, we're not even going to see if he could potentially go. He's done.
He's done for the season.
Right. And then are there other guys that might be dealing with some type of potential things that they could be nicked up that you go, you know what, he's better than the guy we got. So if we sat him, that would ensure that, all right, it would be a lot harder for us to win the football game. Because if you're the Crafts, you have to be saying, why not get the number 1 overall pick? Because you could go, by winning this football game, you could go from number 1 to who the hell knows, number 6, number 7, number 5. And that is like a massive jump in the sense that what you'd be able to do is the number 1 overall pick versus the number 5 when you know that you already have the quarterback. So if I'm the owner of this team and we lose, I'm now seeing, okay, how much can we get from a team that wants to move up to number 1 to get their quarterback?
Right. So you are actually in a great position looking at the draft because you have Drake May. So thank God you got the quarterback and you feel confident enough in him that now these other teams that are falling out of the number 1 spot, might be somewhere 2, 3 further down, are scrambling to try to get Cam Ward or Shador Sanders.
Right.
Maybe they want Hunter. I don't know. I don't know specifically who else would want him. You don't know if he's a cornerback or a wide receiver. He's just an incredible talent,
right?
Like incredible all-around athlete, football player. But I don't think that I don't really see a scenario for not trading back. Like you gotta trade back because if you don't go for the quarterback, there's no reason to be using that pick.
Yeah, and if you're the Patriots, like you said, you have the guy, and for us, we have more value in trading down because even with Travis Hunter, right? You know, I see a lot of things like Travis Hunter going to the Patriots. I think and Dion has said this, and I don't know, you know, Dion says a lot of things, and I don't know how accurate it is. But Travis Hunter, my opinion, if I was advising him, I'd say, listen, play wide receiver. I'd say play wide receiver. Let every NFL team know that you want to be a wide receiver. You're going to work on your routes, and you're going to just polish to become one of the best wide receivers in the game. I would be like, don't play corner because wide receivers make a lot more than cornerbacks make, right? So that's what I would be advising him for. You're not going to find a team that's going to say, all right, Travis, you can play both. They might say, hey, we'll sprinkle you in every now and then. Excuse me, but you're not going to play both. What, like Dion says, he wants to go someplace where he's going to play both. That's not happening.
I don't think that's realistic. And look, as nice as it sounds to, hey, you get a 2-for-1 deal. You see, it's not 1-for-1. This guy's tiny. But Marcus Jones trying to play in every unit, and what happens? He gets injured every season.
Right.
Like, he's a small guy, but it's just not realistic in today's NFL.
When's the last time we've seen in today's NFL where a guy went both ways? I played with Champ Bailey. Champ was Travis Hunter before Travis Hunter was Travis Hunter, right? And even with Charles Woodson, I don't know how much he played on offense, but I don't think he played as much as Champ played on offense. When Champ was playing 120 plays down at Georgia when we were teammates, because he was playing just as many plays on offense as he was on defense. When is the last time you've seen a guy play kind of both ways consistently? It's not happening. So Travis, I think his best decision is, where can I take advantage and probably potentially make the most money for me as a player? And if you look at it, he's a great athlete. You can polish him up to run routes.
Mm-hmm.
Put him at wide receiver.
All right, we got a bunch of phone calls here. We got full line, so I'm going to try to knock some of these out. We're going to be joined by Dried Mayo in about an hour. Let's start with Keith in the truck on number 4, Jackson. Keith wants to talk about a potential draft trade, if I'm correct.
So I was talking to a buddy yesterday. We're just going over some draft positions at number 1. And I was thinking about the guys who would want to move up for quarterback. I was thinking for the Raiders to trade number 1 for Max Crosby. You'd obviously go from like 1 to 8, and then maybe get a second round pick as well. What do you guys think about that? Grabbing Max number 8 and then a second rounder.
I think you can get Max Crosby for a second round pick. I don't even think you have to give up a first round pick for a guy like Max Crosby.
Well, you wouldn't lose your first round because you'd move from 1 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd switch to 1 to 8 and then get in a second rounder and Crosby, maybe something else, maybe a third or fourth as well.
I would say this: if I'm moving down from 1, I want another first round pick.
Thank you, Keith.
So if I'm moving down from 1, I want another first round pick. You know, and so
And then what do you do with that, Wiggy? You told me off air what you want to do with that. What do you want to do with that trade machine, Wiggy?
Hey, when I went on one day, I called into Jones and Keefe, and they were doing. You got 60 seconds to fix the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do? I would trade down, number one, pick up an extra first-round draft pick, and then I would call up Cincinnati and say, how many number ones is it going to take for
your number one?
For
Jamar Chase, your number one receiver.
Yes, for your number one.
For your WR1.
Yeah, I'm willing to give you 2 first-round draft picks, another first-round draft pick maybe down the road. Would that get me Jamar Chase? And then I would use my second-round pick to call the Raiders and see if they will and want to give up Max Crosby. So that's what I would do in my world. I would do everything in my power to see if Cincinnati is stupid enough to say, okay, give us 3 first-round picks and we'll give you Jamar Chase, because I'll do that all day long.
And this is why you got to roll out Joe Milton on Sunday.
Yeah,
give Drake the day off.
You cannot. And I'm with you as a fan right now.
I know they're not going to do it. They're going to, if they're playing Drake in the end of that fourth quarter, they're playing Drake on Sunday.
They're obviously gonna play him, but I mean, it's just you don't like, because this was something that happened with the Giants that they were talking about, like the Giants winning that game.
So goofy.
Winning that game yesterday, basically knocked them out of the first overall pick, right? So there's a team that might want to get back up. What are they willing to give you to get? Because it's really, when you look at the quarterback draft this year,
give them Dable. Do a coach trade.
when you look at the quarterback position in this year's NFL draft, it's really Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's a stretch. Like, is there any hype around either one of those quarterbacks that there has been, like in years past, about, whether it was last year with Caleb Williams, a couple of years ago with Trevor Lawrence? So it's like, there's not the hype like, oh, those dudes, and I'm not saying they won't be, but there's not that hype of like, these guys are going to be superstar franchise.
They don't even have the hype of Jaden Daniels. Like this time last year, Jaden was skyrocketing because of the Heisman. And you look at it and you go, whoa, could Jaden actually be the number 2 pick? And he was.
Right.
But there was so much hype around him at this point.
Right. So
you don't have that with those
and
two.
you probably don't. You could probably throw Drake May in that conversation. Yeah. So you don't have that. But is a team desperate enough, whether it's the Giants? Because right now, if you look at it, Tennessee has the 2nd overall pick in Cleveland. Do you think Tennessee or Cleveland would be interested in trading up to number 1 to get a quarterback?
I mean, I think that they should.
No,
absolutely.
I'm not saying that they should, but do you think they would be? Tennessee has the kid Will Levis, that they used the 2nd round pick to maybe draft him, and Cleveland just restructured Deshaun Watson's contract. So do you think that those two teams are as desperate to move up to number 1 as, let's say, the Giants?
No, I don't think so. I think the Giants are in a rougher position.
Right.
Where you could see, because of the Deshaun Watson restructuring, Cleveland going out and trying to get some like bridge mercenary quarterback the way that Atlanta did. And then Atlanta weirdly drafted Penix.
Right.
But I see them more going out and trying to sign a professional quarterback.
So then that would leave me to think, like, based on just looking at like the top 10, you have the Giants at 4 and Vegas at 8. Those look like they're the 2 most desperate teams for a quarterback. And how much would they be willing to give up to move up to number 1? Right? Mm-hmm. So if they're willing to give up a lot to move up to number 1, this potentially opens the door for you to stockpile some picks that you could, my fantasy world, and I know it's a fantasy, and you'd have to pay him, which I would have no problem paying Jamar Chase, but my fantasy world would be call up Cincinnati, and he would be the first guy on the list to see if Cincinnati would be willing. I'd give up 3 first-round picks for Jamar Chase.
GM Wiggy, he's working it. He's working it already. We're not sure if the Patriots will definitely have the number 1 overall. What would I do?
Yeah.
I am so incredibly boring. I would trade back and take one of these tackles. I think you have to.
That's it?
I understand you have to package if you can get another first round pick.
Really?
And trade
Fantasy
around.
world, I'm giving you.
I know, but Wiggy,
you
I
would
can't watch this offensive line anymore.
You
It's
could
dreadful.
get free agent linemen.
Everybody says that every season, and you end up with Chuksa Okorafor, who plays 12 snaps.
But what I'm saying is, if you went down this road, this fantasy world, you would have the ability to say, okay, we're gonna sign some good veteran free agent linemen. That's what I'm saying. This is your fantasy world. This
if
Mego's
it's a total
fantasy
then I'm going to do
but
what you said, but for Justin Jefferson, and it's never going to happen.
It's not. It's fantasy, but with a little bit of reality touched on it, because Jamar Chase, they haven't given him a contract, so they could potentially entertain that. The Minnesota Vikings have already paid Justin Jefferson. So even though it's like fantasy wish list, it's still stuff that could potentially happen. Cincinnati could easily say, we'll give you 3 first round. We'll take 3 first round picks for Jamar. They didn't want to pay him anyways. Maybe they still don't want to make him the second highest paid receiver in the NFL. And they'll say, you know what? We'll give you Jamar. We'll keep T. Higgins. Our quarterback's good enough. We're picking up extra draft picks. We can go out and draft another first round guy. So it's fantasy, but there's a little bit of reality touch. Like the Justin Jefferson, they already paid him.
Yeah.
So when I say you could potentially get good veteran O-linemen in free agency, you could do that because you have the money.
What if you take 3 first round picks and Christian Gonzalez and you trade them to Minnesota for Kevin O'Connell?